Save your tears, Andrea. You're going to need them when you lose the house. Those were the words my daughter-in-law whispered to me at my husband's funeral, and my son, my only son, laughed. In that moment, I understood that the deepest pain doesn't come from losing the one you love, but from discovering who was waiting for you to lose them. My name is Andrea Miller. I am 60 years old, and what I am about to tell you changed everything I thought I knew about my family. It was 3 weeks ago. Robert, my husband, had died of a sudden heart attack. 32 years together. 32 years building a life, a house, a future. He was 65. I had just turned 60. I never imagined I would be there, sitting in front of his casket, feeling life slip away with every second. Every time I looked at his photograph next to the white flowers, I expected him to open his eyes and tell me, "Andrea, that's enough. Let's go home." But Robert wasn't going to wake up. And my son Stephen knew it. Worse, he was silently celebrating it. He was standing next to his wife, Valerie. She was wearing a black dress that was far too tight for a funeral. High heels, red lips. Stephen had his arm around her shoulders, as if protecting her. But his eyes weren't looking at his father's casket. They were looking at our house. I was sitting in the front row, my hands clasped in my lap. I had cried so much the first 2 days that I had no tears left, just an enormous void in my chest, and the scent of the coffee Robert drank every morning, still clinging to my blouse. People came and went, distant cousins, neighbors, Robert's co-workers. They all said the same thing. He was a great man. He's in a better place. Time heals all wounds. But none of them knew what was about to happen. It was then that Valerie approached me. She leaned in, as if to offer condolences. Her perfume was sweet, cloying. She put a hand on my shoulder and brought her lips to my ear, and she whispered, "Save your tears, Andrea. You're going to need them when you lose the house." The world stopped. I froze, my eyes fixed on the flowers on the casket, unable to breathe. I looked up. She smiled at me, a perfect cold smile, as if she had just told me the coffee was ready. Then she returned to Stephen's side, who was watching me from across the room. And then my son laughed. It wasn't a loud laugh. It was discreet, barely a sound. But I heard it. I felt it like a punch to the stomach, as if the air had been ripped from my lungs. My son, my Stephen, the same boy I held in my arms while singing lullabies, the same one who cried when he fell and ran to me screaming, "Mommy, Mommy," the same one who told me I was the best mother in the world. That boy had just laughed at my pain. I said nothing. I couldn't. I just looked down and clenched my hands so tightly that my nails dug into my skin. "Breathe, Andrea. Breathe." I closed my eyes. I counted to 10, and when I opened them, I forced myself to smile, to nod when someone spoke to me, to say thank you for the condolences. But inside, something had broken. Since when did Stephen hate me so much? Since when was he planning this that night, when everyone had left and the funeral home closed? I stood alone in front of Robert's casket. I ran my fingers over the cold wood and closed my eyes. "What do I do now, my love?" I whispered. "What do I do without you?" But Robert couldn't answer me. I took a taxi home. The key trembled in my hand as I opened the door. Everything was exactly as we had left it. Robert's coffee mug on the table, his reading glasses next to the newspaper, his jacket hanging on the back of the chair. I sat on the sofa and looked around. This house, our house, we had bought it together 28 years ago. We painted the walls. We planted the orange tree in the backyard. We watched Stephen grow up here, every brick, every window, every memory. And now Valerie wanted to take it from me. How dare she? How dare they? I couldn't sleep that night. I lay awake, staring at the ceiling, listening to the silence Robert had left behind, thinking about Valerie's words over and over. Save your tears when you lose the house. How could they be so sure? 2 days later, Monday morning. I was in the kitchen making coffee when someone knocked on the door. A young man, maybe 35, impeccable gray suit, leather briefcase, thin-rimmed glasses. He smiled at me respectfully. "Mrs. Andrea Miller." "Yes." "My name is James Manning. I'm an attorney. I worked with your husband, Mr. Robert Miller, for the last 5 years." My heart sped up. Robert hired a lawyer? He never told me anything. "I know. He asked me for absolute discretion." James pulled a manila envelope from his briefcase. It was thick, sealed with red wax. "He asked me to deliver this to you personally after his passing. He told me, verbatim, if anything happens to me, Andrea needs to know the truth, and she needs to know I protected her." I took the envelope with trembling hands. It was heavy. There was something else inside besides papers. "What is this?" "Open it. Everything is explained in there. Legal documents, letters, instructions." James also handed me a business card. "When you've read it, call me. I will need you to sign some documents for everything to take effect. But I want you to know something, Mrs. Miller." He paused. He looked me straight in the eye. "Your husband was a very smart man, and he loved you deeply. He foresaw everything, including the people he couldn't trust." My eyes filled with tears, but this time they weren't tears of pain. They were tears of relief. And then I smiled, because in that moment, with that envelope in my hands, I understood something that Valerie and Stephen didn't know yet. Robert had never left me alone, and I knew exactly what to do. I closed the door after James left and stood in the entryway, holding the envelope. It was heavy, heavier than I expected. I sat on the sofa, the same sofa where Robert and I watched movies on Sundays, where Stephen played when he was a child, where we had planned our future so many times. I broke the wax seal carefully. Inside were several documents, deeds, contracts, and a handwritten letter. I recognized Robert's handwriting immediately. That writing I had seen on birthday cards, on notes stuck to the fridge, on love letters I kept in a metal box. I unfolded the letter with trembling hands. "My dearest Andrea, if you are reading this, it means I am no longer with you, and I know your heart is broken right now. Forgive me for leaving you alone. Forgive me for not telling you how much I loved you every single day. Though I hope you felt it in every coffee I made you, in every good morning kiss, in every time I held your hand. But there is something you need to know, something I discovered 5 years ago, and it forced me to protect you in the only way I knew how." I stopped reading. My heart was beating so hard I could hear it. What did Robert discover 5 years ago? I continued reading. 5 years ago, Stephen came to me asking for money. He said it was to invest in a business, that he would multiply the investment. I gave him $50,000. It was our emergency fund, but I trusted him. He was our son. 6 months later, I saw him again. I asked him about the business. He got nervous. He told me he had lost the money, that he had been scammed, that he was sorry. I believed him, Andrea. I believed him because he was my son. But then, I started to notice strange things. Stephen and Valerie bought a new car, a BMW. They started going out to expensive restaurants, traveling. And when I asked them where the money was coming in from, Valerie said it was from her job. One day, by chance, I saw a document on Stephen's desk. It was an investment statement. Our investment. The $50,000. It wasn't lost. Stephen had used it to invest in his own name. I confronted Stephen, and he told me something I will never forget. "It's all going to be mine someday anyway. What's the difference?" I had to stop. The tears blurred my vision. Stephen said that my son said that I took a deep breath, dried my tears, and kept reading. That day, I understood I had lost my son, not physically, but morally. He was no longer the boy we raised. He was a stranger waiting for me to die to take everything. So I spoke to Valerie. I told her Stephen had used our money without permission. Do you know what she told me, Robert? "You're both old. What do you need so much for? It's better if the young people enjoy it." That's when I knew it wasn't just Stephen, it was her. Valerie had poisoned him. She had turned him into someone I no longer recognized. So, Andrea, I did the only thing I could do to protect you. My breath caught. I turned to the next page, and there were the documents. The deed to the house. The deed to the lake house upstate. Bank accounts. Everything. And on every single document, in clear official letters, was my name. Andrea Miller, sole proprietor. The letter continued. 5 years ago, I transferred all our assets into your name, the house, the land, the savings accounts, everything. And I put in a legal clause that says only you can transfer or sell any property. No one else, not even upon your death. If anything happens to you, everything goes to a charitable foundation I established. Stephen will receive nothing, unless you decide otherwise. I know this sounds harsh. I know it hurts. But I needed to protect you, my love, because I knew, the moment I was gone, Stephen and Valerie would try to take everything from you. The lawyer, James Manning, has all the original documents. He will help you with anything you need. Andrea, don't let them hurt you. Don't let them rob you of your dignity. And please, don't let them rob you of this house, the house where we were happy, the house of the orange trees. I love you. I always loved you, and I will watch over you from wherever I am. Yours forever, Robert. I closed the letter and pressed it to my chest. I cried. I cried like I hadn't cried in days, but this time, it wasn't just sadness. It was relief. It was gratitude. It was love. Robert had protected me, even after death. He was taking care of me. I looked at the documents on the table. Deeds, contracts, bank accounts, all in my name, all of it. And then I remembered Valerie's words at the funeral. Save your tears, Andrea. You're going to need them when you lose the house. I smiled. A bitter smile, but a smile nonetheless. I'm not going to lose the house, Valerie. I'm never going to lose it, because Robert foresaw everything. I got up from the sofa and walked to the kitchen. I made coffee, the same coffee Robert drank every morning. The aroma filled the house, and for a moment, it was as if he was there with me. I took my cup and went out to the backyard. The orange tree we had planted 28 years ago was still there, strong, green, full of fruit. Robert used to say that tree was like our family, that we had to care for it, water it, protect it. I protected it, my love, I whispered, looking at the tree, and now I am going to protect it. I promise you. That afternoon, Stephen called me. Mom, I need to talk to you. His voice sounded calm, almost sweet. About what, son? About the house and the future. Can I come over tomorrow? My heart sped up. But this time it wasn't from fear. It was preparation. Of course, Stephen. Come tomorrow. We have a lot to talk about. A lot. I hung up the phone. And as I looked at Robert's envelope on the table, I knew the real battle was just beginning. But this time, I was ready. Stephen arrived the next day at 11 in the morning. I was in the kitchen when I heard his car park out front. That sound had brought me happiness for so many years. Now, it just produced a knot in my stomach. I took a deep breath, dried my hands on my apron, and opened the door before he could knock. Hi, Mom. He kissed my cheek. A quick cold kiss, like a formality. Hi, son. Come in. Stephen walked in and looked around, as if he was evaluating, calculating. His eyes lingered on every piece of furniture, every painting, every detail of the living room. Want some coffee? I asked. No thanks, this won't take long. He sat on the sofa. I sat across from him, in the armchair where Robert used to read the newspaper. Stephen took a folder out of his briefcase. Mom, I know these have been very difficult days for you. For both of us. He was a great man. He paused, as if waiting for me to say something. I said nothing. He continued, "But life goes on, and there are practical things we need to talk about, important things." "Like what, Stephen?" "Like this house." My heart sped up, but I kept my voice calm. "What about the house?" Stephen opened the folder. He took out several papers. He placed them on the coffee table. "Mom, this house is too big for you. 5 bedrooms, 2 bathrooms, a huge yard. How are you going to maintain it alone? The water, the electricity, the upkeep, it's too much." "I've lived here for 28 years, Stephen. I know how to maintain it." "Yes, but Dad helped you. Now you're alone, and at your age." "I'm 60 years old, son. I'm not an invalid." Stephen sighed, as if talking to a stubborn child. "I'm not saying you're an invalid, Mom, but let's be realistic. This house is worth a lot of money. If you sell it, you can buy a small, comfortable apartment close to us, and you'll have money left over to live comfortably." "And why would I want to sell the house where I was happy with your father?" "Because Dad isn't here anymore." The words landed like stones. I just stared at him, searching his eyes for the boy he used to be, the boy who hugged me when he had nightmares, the boy who told me I was his hero. But that boy wasn't there anymore. "Mom, Valerie and I have been thinking. We could help you. I can handle the sale, the paperwork. You don't have to worry about anything." "How considerate of you, son." Stephen smiled. He thought he had won. "So, are we in agreement?" "No." The smile vanished from his face. "What do you mean, no? I'm not selling the house, Stephen." "Mom, you're not thinking clearly. I know it's hard, but I am thinking perfectly clearly, and I am not selling the house." Stephen leaned forward. His voice changed. It was no longer sweet, it was hard. "Mom, you have to be practical. What are you going to live on? Dad's pension barely covers anything. This house will eat up all your savings. That's not your problem, Stephen." "Yes, it is my problem. You're my mother. I'm not going to let you sink into debt by clinging to a house. How noble of you to worry about me." Stephen noticed the tone in my voice. He was quiet for a moment. "What do you mean by that?" "Nothing, son, just that I appreciate your concern." He leaned back against the sofa. He studied me. "Mom, is something wrong? You're acting strange." "Strange how?" "I don't know. Different, distant. I just lost my husband, Stephen. How did you expect me to act?" I know, I'm sorry. It's just... Well, Valerie and I want to help you." "Oh, really?" He mentioned Valerie, and something inside me ignited. "Valerie is worried about me." "Of course, we both are." "How strange, because at your father's funeral, Valerie said something very interesting to me." Stephen tensed. "What did she tell you?" "She told me to save my tears, that I was going to need them when I lose the house." Silence filled the room. Stephen blinked. He opened his mouth, closed it. He searched for words. "Mom, I don't know what you're talking about. Valerie would never say something like that." "She said it, and you laughed. You're confused. The grief is making you—" "I am not confused, Stephen. I know perfectly well what I heard." Stephen stood up. "Mom, I think you need to rest. These weeks have been very hard. Maybe you're remembering things that didn't happen, or maybe you misunderstood." "I didn't misunderstand anything." I stood up too. I looked him straight in the eye. "I know exactly what Valerie said, and I know exactly what you two want." "What do we want, Mom? What do you think we want?" "The house," Stephen laughed, but it was a false, nervous laugh. "That's ridiculous. I don't want your house. I just want you to be okay, to not be stressed." "And to not run out of money." "How considerate. Why do you keep saying that? In that tone?" "Because I know you're lying to me, Stephen, just like you lied to your father 5 years ago." Stephen turned pale. "What are you talking about? About the $50,000 your father gave you, the money you said you lost, The money you actually invested in your own name." Stephen's face changed. There was no more sweetness, no more concern, only coldness. "Dad told you—" "No, your father left me a letter. He explained everything." Stephen clenched his jaw. "That money was mine by right. Everything was going to be mine someday anyway." "That's exactly what you told your father. Remember?" Stephen gathered his papers from the table with jerky movements. "You know what, Mom? You're right. Keep the house. Keep everything. Let's see how long you last before you come begging me for help." He walked to the door, but before leaving, he stopped. He looked at me over his shoulder. "Dad was always too soft on you. He protected you too much, but he's not here now, and you're going to have to face reality alone." "I'm not alone, Stephen." "Oh, no. And who's with you?" I smiled. A calm smile. "Your father. He's still taking care of me." Stephen slammed the door on his way out. I heard his car speed away. I sat back down in the armchair. My hands were shaking. My heart was pounding like crazy, but I had done the right thing. I had told him the truth. That night, as I was making dinner, my phone rang. It was an unknown number. "Hello. Andrea. It's Valerie." Her voice was sharp, cold. "What do you want, Valerie?" "Stephen told me what you talked about, and I want you to know something." "What?" "That house isn't just yours. Robert bought it when he was married to you. That means, legally, Stephen is entitled to a share." "That's not true." "Of course it's true. And if you don't give us what's ours, we're going to sue you." "Go ahead, sue me," Valerie laughed. "Do you know how much a lawsuit costs, Andrea? How much time it takes? How much stress? At your age, do you really want to go through that? If necessary, yes. You're more stubborn than I thought, but that's fine. We'll see who gets tired first." And she hung up. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the phone. The threats had begun, but I was no longer the same Andrea who had cried at the funeral. Now I knew the truth, and I knew Robert had given me the weapons to defend myself. Author's note. As I tell this, I think about where you might be listening. Write the name of your city in the comments. The following days were strange. Stephen didn't call again. Neither did Valerie. It was as if they had disappeared, but I knew it wasn't silence. It was preparation. I called James Manning, Robert's lawyer. "Mrs. Miller, have you read all the documents?" "Yes, and I need you to explain something. Valerie told me they are going to sue me. That Stephen is entitled to part of the house." "That is false." "Are you sure?" "Completely. Your husband transferred all assets to your name 5 years ago, with public deeds, notarized, registered, all legal. The house is 100% yours. Stephen has no claim on it." I felt an enormous sense of relief. "And what if they sue me anyway?" "They can try, but they will lose, and they will spend a lot of money on lawyers for nothing. Mr. Miller was very meticulous. He left no loose ends." "Thank you, James." "You don't have to thank me. I just did my job. Your husband was the one who thought of everything." I hung up and sat in the backyard. The orange tree's branches swayed in the breeze. The fruits were ripening. Soon they would be ready to harvest. Robert used to make orange juice every Sunday. He said there was nothing more delicious than fresh squeezed juice while we read the newspaper together. "I miss you, my love," I whispered, looking at the tree. "I miss you so much." But I knew I couldn't stay in sadness. I had to be strong, for me, for Robert, for this house. A week later, I received a certified letter. It was from a law firm, big, expensive, the kind with offices and glass buildings. I opened the envelope with trembling hands. "This letter is to notify Mrs. Andrea Miller that our client, Mr. Stephen Miller, has initiated legal proceedings to claim his rightful share of the inheritance of Mr. Robert Miller." I kept reading. It was technical, full of complicated words, but the message was clear. Stephen was suing me. I called James immediately. "I already know," he said. A copy arrived this morning. Don't worry, this is exactly what we expected. We expected? Your husband warned me this might happen. That's why we prepared a legal response 5 years ago. I have everything ready. I just need you to come to my office tomorrow to sign some papers. And then what happens? Then we respond. And when the judge sees all the documents we have, he will dismiss the case. It might take 2 or 3 months, but we are going to win. 2 or 3 months. That's the normal time for these proceedings. But don't worry, they are the ones who will have to pay their lawyers' fees, not you. Robert left specific funds for your legal defense. That afternoon, I went to James's office. I signed papers. Lots of papers. He explained each one to me patiently. Your husband was very smart, Mrs. Miller. He didn't just transfer the assets to your name. He also left letters explaining his reasons. He left bank statements showing he paid for everything. He left witnesses. He left proof that Stephen lied to him about the money. It's an armored case. Robert really did all that, James smiled. He used to tell me, when I'm gone, Andrea will be alone, and I know my son will try to take advantage. I won't allow it. Tears started to roll down my cheeks. I'm sorry, I said, wiping my eyes. It's just, I can't believe Robert thought of all this. That's how he loved you, Mrs. Miller, protecting you, even after death. I left the office feeling stronger, more prepared. But when I got home, someone was waiting for me at my door. Valerie. She was leaning against her car, arms crossed, dark sunglasses, dressed like she was going to a party, not to threaten her mother-in-law. We need to talk, she said. We have nothing to talk about, Valerie. Of course we do. This is getting out of control. You're the ones who took it out of control when you decided to sue me. Valerie took off her sunglasses. Her eyes were cold, calculating. Andrea, let's be adults. You know this house is too much for you. And Stephen is entitled to something. He's Robert's only son. Stephen had a father who loved him, who educated him, who gave him everything. That's what he received from Robert. Don't give me that sentimental garbage. I'm talking about money, assets, what we deserve. This fight isn't yours, Valerie. It's between my son and me. Valerie laughed, a harsh laugh. Oh, Andrea, you still don't get it. Stephen is my husband. What's his is mine, and what should be his, you are stealing from me. Nobody is stealing anything from you. This house is mine, legally, morally, in every sense. And what are you going to do with it? Live here alone until you die? Clean 5 rooms that nobody uses? Water a huge yard? It's ridiculous. It's my life, and I decide what to do with it. Valerie took a step toward me. Her voice lowered, but became more threatening. Listen to me carefully, Andrea. You can fight all you want. You can hire lawyers. You can cling to this house, but you are going to lose because we have more money, more time, more energy, and you only have memories of a dead man. I felt something inside me explode. That dead man gave you a son that you corrupted. A son I no longer recognize. I didn't corrupt anyone. I just opened his eyes. I taught him that life isn't about being good, it's about being smart. And that's why you taught him to steal from his father. Valerie smiled. Robert was old. He didn't need that money anymore. We, on the other hand, are young. We have plans, dreams. Why should we wait until you're both dead to start living? Because that's how life works, Valerie. You work, you save, you earn. How old-fashioned. The world doesn't work like that anymore. She put her sunglasses back on. Think about it, Andrea. You can avoid all this suffering. Sign the papers, sell the house, keep half the money, and give us the other half. Everyone's happy. Never. Then prepare for war, because this is just the beginning. She got in her car and drove off. I stood in front of my house, our house, the house of the orange trees. And in that moment, I made a decision. I wasn't going to run. I wasn't going to give up. I wasn't going to let them tear down what Robert and I had built together. If they wanted a war, they were going to get one. That night, I took an old metal box from the closet. Inside were all the letters Robert had written me over the years. Letters from when we were dating, letters from when Stephen was born, anniversary letters. I read every one. And in the last one, written just a month before his death, Robert had written something I didn't remember. Andrea, if anything happens to me, I want you to know that this house isn't just walls and a roof. It's our love made real. It's every laugh, every tear, every hug we shared. Don't let anyone take it from you, because as long as you live here, I will keep living with you. I closed the letter and pressed it to my chest. I won't let them take it, my love. I promise. And that night, for the first time since Robert died, I slept peacefully. Because I knew the battle had begun, but I also knew I wasn't alone. 2 months passed, 2 months of paperwork, lawyers, hearings, of sleepless nights wondering how I had gotten here. My own son was suing me. The first few weeks were the hardest. Every time the phone rang, my heart raced. Every time a certified letter arrived, my hands shook. But James kept his word. He answered every argument from Stephen's lawyers. He presented every document Robert had prepared. He showed the deeds, the bank statements, the letters. They are going to lose, James told me every time I doubted. They have no case. They are just dragging this out, hoping you'll get tired. And he was right, because one afternoon, after the third hearing, Stephen was waiting for me outside the courthouse. He was alone. No Valerie. No lawyers. Mom, can we talk? We're in the middle of a lawsuit, Stephen. Talk to my lawyer. Please, just 5 minutes. Something in his voice made me stop. He sounded tired, defeated. Fine. 5 minutes. We walked to a bench in the park across from the courthouse. We sat in silence for a moment. Mom, I didn't want it to come to this. Then why did you do it? Because Valerie said it was the right thing to do, that Dad had left you everything through manipulation, that you had convinced him when he was sick. Your father wasn't sick when he transferred the assets. It was 5 years ago. He was perfectly lucid. Stephen looked down. I know, the lawyers told me. They also told me we're going to lose, that Dad documented everything, that there's no way to win. And so, I want to stop this. I want to withdraw the lawsuit. My heart leaped, but something in his tone made me hesitate. What does Valerie want in return? Stephen looked up surprised. How did you know Valerie wants something? Because I know you, son, and I know you wouldn't make this decision without consulting her. Stephen sighed. She says that if we withdraw the lawsuit, you should give us something as compensation for the legal fees and for being your only son. How much? $200,000. I fell silent. $200,000. It was more than half of what the house was worth. No. Mom, please. It's a way to end this without more fighting, without more pain. Stephen, your father left me this house because he knew you two would try to take it from me. And he was right. If I give you $200,000 today, what will you ask for tomorrow and the day after? We won't ask for anything else, I swear. Just like you swore you had lost the $50,000 your father gave you. Stephen stood up. I was different then. I was younger, stupider. You're 35 years old, Stephen. You're not a child. But I am your son. Doesn't that mean anything to you? His voice broke, and for a moment, I saw a tear in his eye. It means everything to me. That's why what you're doing hurts so much. Mom, No, Stephen. Let me speak. I gave you life. I fed you. I took care of you when you were sick. I took you to school. I helped you with your homework. I taught you to ride a bike. I cried with joy on your graduation day. I cried with emotion on your wedding day. I was always there for you. The tears were rolling down my own cheeks now. And you betrayed me. For money. For a house. For material things. It's not just about money, Mom. It's about justice. Dad was my father, too. I have a right. You had a father who loved you, who worked his whole life to give you a future, who forgave you when you lied to him. That is what you received from your father. His love, his time, his forgiveness. And you get his entire inheritance. I get the responsibility of caring for what we built together, and the responsibility of protecting it from people who only see money where there was love. Stephen shook his head. Valerie was right. You are selfish. You always were. Those words hurt me more than any lawsuit. If that's what you believe, then there's nothing more to talk about. I got up from the bench. Mom? Wait. No, Stephen, you decide. Either you withdraw the lawsuit with no conditions, or we continue in court. But I am not giving you $200,000, not $1. Then I'll see you in court. I walked to my car without looking back. But when I closed the door, the tears I had been holding back finally came. I cried like I hadn't cried in months. I cried for the son I had lost, for the boy who used to hug me and tell me he loved me, for all the hopes and dreams I had for him. That night, I called my sister Claudia. She lived in Chicago. We hadn't talked much since Robert's funeral. Andrea, what's wrong? You sound terrible. I told her everything. The lawsuit, the trial, the conversation with Stephen. There was a long silence on the other end. Andrea, I don't know what to say. I never imagined Stephen was capable of something like that. Neither did I. What are you going to do? Keep fighting. I'm not giving up Claudia. Robert left me this house so I could live in peace, not so I could give it away to Stephen and Valerie. You're right, but this is destroying you. I can hear it in your voice. I'm tired. I won't deny it, but I'm not going to let them win. Do you need me to come? I can catch a bus tomorrow. No, sis, thank you, but this is something I have to solve on my own. After hanging up, I poured a cup of tea. I went out to the backyard. The orange tree was full of ripe fruit, bright orange against the gray dusk sky. I picked an orange. I cut it in half. The aroma filled the air. Robert used to say the sweetest oranges were the ones hardest to reach, the ones on the highest branches, because they had gotten the most sun. I'm reaching for the highest branches, my love, I whispered, but I'm not giving up. 2 weeks later, the final hearing arrived. The judge was an older man, about 70. With thick glasses and a firm voice, he listened to Stephen's lawyers present their case. He listened to James present our defense. And after reviewing all the documents, he took off his glasses and looked directly at Stephen. Young man, are you aware that your father transferred all his assets to his wife's name 5 years ago, when he was completely healthy and in full command of his faculties? Yes, Your Honor, but I believe he was influenced. Do you have proof of this influence? Not directly, but then you have no case. The law is clear. Your father had the right to dispose of his assets as he wished, and he did so, legally, with witnesses, with a notary, with everything in order. The judge put his glasses back on. Case dismissed. Mr. Stephen Miller will pay all legal costs for both parties. The gavel fell. I had won. I looked at Stephen. He was pale. Valerie, sitting behind him, her face was red with rage. I left the courthouse with James. Congratulations, Mrs. Miller. Justice was served. Thank you, James, for everything. Don't thank me. Thank your husband. He won this case 5 years ago when he decided to protect you. That night, I got home and sat in the backyard. The sky was full of stars. We won, my love, I whispered, looking up. We won. And for the first time in months, I felt peace. But deep down, I knew something had died that day. My relationship with my son. 3 months passed after the trial, 3 months of hearing nothing from Stephen. He didn't call, he didn't write, he didn't come to visit. It was as if he had died, or worse, as if I had died to him. At first, I expected his call every day, Every time the phone rang, my heart jumped, thinking, maybe it's him. Maybe he wants to apologize. But it was never him. My sister Claudia called me every week. Anything new, Andrea? Nothing. Total silence. Maybe it's for the best. Let things cool down. Or maybe he's lost me forever. If he lost you, it was his choice, not yours. She was right, but that didn't make it hurt any less. The first few weeks after the trial were strange. I would wake up in the morning not knowing what to do. For months, all my energy had been focused on the lawsuit, on fighting, on defending myself, and now that I had won, I felt empty. The house was still mine. The orange tree was still bearing fruit. Everything was in its place, but something was missing. One afternoon, I was at the supermarket buying vegetables when I saw a neighbor, Mrs. Peterson, a 70-year-old woman who lived 3 houses down. "Andrea, so good to see you." "You too, Mrs. Peterson. How are you?" I heard you've been through some difficult times. In a small town, everyone knows everything." "Yes, it's been a complicated few months. I imagine losing a husband, and then, the lawsuit with your son." "How did you know about the lawsuit?" Mrs. Peterson lowered her voice. "My niece works at this courthouse. She told me. I never thought Stephen was capable of something like that. He always seemed like such a good boy." "I thought so too." "And now, do you two talk?" "No, we haven't spoken since the trial." Mrs. Peterson shook her head. "How sad. Family is the most important thing. But sometimes you have to protect yourself, even from your own blood." Her words stayed with me for the rest of the day. Sometimes you have to protect yourself, even from your own blood. That night, as I was making dinner, the doorbell rang. I opened the door and almost fell over. It was Stephen. He looked terrible. Deep, dark circles under his eyes, an unshaven beard, wrinkled clothes, as if he hadn't slept in days. "Mom, His voice broke. "What are you doing here, Stephen?" I need to talk to you. Please." I hesitated. Part of me wanted to slam the door in his face. Another part, the part that never stops being a mother, wanted to hug him and ask him what was wrong. "Come in." Stephen entered slowly. He looked around as if seeing the house for the first time. "Nothing's changed," he mumbled. "Were you expecting it to—" I don't know what I was expecting. We sat in the living room. The silence was thick, uncomfortable. "Do you want coffee?" I asked. "No, I just need to tell you something." "I'm listening." Stephen ran his hands over his face. "Valerie left me." I stayed silent. I didn't know what to say. "She left 2 weeks ago. She said she couldn't be with a loser, with someone who couldn't even win a lawsuit against his own mother." "I'm sorry, Stephen." "You're sorry I thought you'd be happy." "I'm your mother, Stephen. I will never be happy to see you suffer, even after you hurt me so much." Stephen started to cry. It wasn't a silent cry. It was heartbreaking, like the cry of a lost child. "I ruined everything, Mom. Everything. I lost the lawsuit. I lost Valerie. I lost my savings paying for lawyers. And I lost you." I moved closer to him. I put my hand on his shoulder. "I never left you, Stephen. You were the one who left me." I know. And I hate myself for it. Why did you do it, son? Why did you sue me? Why did you hurt me like that?" Stephen looked up. His eyes were red and swollen. "Because Valerie convinced me. She convinced me you had stolen my inheritance, that Dad was senile when he transferred everything to your name, that I was entitled to that house, and I believed her, because I wanted to believe her, because I wanted the money. For what? To impress her, to show her I could give her the life she wanted, expensive restaurants, trips, luxuries. But it was never enough. She always wanted more. And now, I realize all she ever wanted was money. She didn't love me. She never loved me. She only loved what I could give her. Stephen covered his face with his hands, and I hurt you, for her, for... I betrayed my own mother for a woman who left me as soon as things got hard. I didn't know what to say. Part of me wanted to say, I told you so, but what good would that do? He had suffered enough. Stephen, look at me. He looked up. You made a mistake, a huge mistake. You hurt me in a way I don't know if I can ever fully forgive. But you are my son, and you will always be my son. Can you ever forgive me? I don't know. I can't today. Maybe not tomorrow either. But someday. Maybe. Stephen nodded. It's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. He stood up. I'm going. I just wanted you to know that I'm sorry. I'm truly sorry. He walked to the door, but before leaving, he stopped. Mom, Dad was right. About everything. I was a fool. I was selfish. And he knew it. That's why he protected you. Your father loved you, Stephen. Never doubt that. But he loved me too. And he knew I had to be protected. I know that now. Too late. And he left. I stood in the living room, staring at the closed door. I didn't feel triumph. I didn't feel joy. I just felt a deep, profound sadness because I had won the house, but I had lost my son in the process. That night, as I looked at the stars from the backyard, I thought of Robert. Did I do the right thing, my love? I whispered. I won the house, but I lost our son. The wind moved the branches of the orange tree, and for a moment, I felt Robert answer me. You did the right thing. Stephen needed to learn, and you needed to defend yourself. Time will put everything in its place. I hope you're right, I whispered, and I stayed there, under the stars, hoping that one day the pain would turn into something else, something like forgiveness. 6 months passed after that visit from Stephen, 6 months in which, little by little, I rebuilt my life. It wasn't the same life I had with Robert. It never would be. But it was a life. I joined a book club at the library. I met other women my age, some widows like me, others divorced, all with stories of pain and survival. Life doesn't end at 60, Asuya, Sarah, one of my new friends, told me. A new chapter is just beginning. And she was right. I started painting, something I had always wanted to do but never had time for. Watercolors, landscapes, nothing professional, but it made me happy. The orange tree in the backyard became my favorite model. I painted it in all seasons, with flowers, with fruit, with falling leaves. One afternoon, while I was painting, my phone rang. It was a number I didn't recognize. Hello, Mrs. Andrea Miller. Yes, who is this? My name is Patricia. I was a friend of Valerie's. My heart sped up. What do you want? I need to talk to you. It's important. It's about your son. What's wrong with Stephen? Is he okay? Physically, he's fine. But I need you to know something. Something Valerie told me before she left. What? There was a long pause. I'd rather tell you in person. Can we meet? I hesitated, but my curiosity was stronger. All right. Where? Do you know the Corner Brew Cafe? The one downtown? Yes. Tomorrow at 4 p.m. I'll be there. I couldn't sleep that night. What did Patricia want to tell me? What did she know about Stephen? The next day, I arrived at the cafe 15 minutes early. I ordered a coffee and sat by the window. At 4 o'clock sharp, a woman in her 40s walked in. Thin, short hair. She looked nervous. Mrs. Miller? Yes, Patricia. Yes, thank you for coming. She sat across from me. She ordered a tea. She didn't speak until the waitress brought it. I don't know how to say this, so I'll be direct. Valerie told me the plan was always to take the house from you. I already knew that. But you don't know everything. You don't know that Valerie investigated your husband before she even married Stephen. She knew you had properties, that you had savings, and she decided she was going to get all of it. I froze. What are you saying? I'm saying Valerie never loved your son. She used him from the very beginning. She got close to him because she knew he was an only child, that he would inherit, and she started working on his head from the first year of marriage. How do you know all this? Because I was her best friend, and she told me everything. She laughed about it. She said Stephen was easy to manipulate, that she just needed to make him feel important and he would do whatever she wanted. My hands were shaking. I had to put my coffee cup down. Why are you telling me this now? Patricia looked down. Because I feel guilty. I knew what she was doing, and I never said anything. And now that Valerie is gone and left your son destroyed, I can't stay silent anymore. Where is Valerie now? In Miami, with another man, a rich businessman, 30 years older than her. She's already doing the same thing.
She's already investigated him. She already knows how much money he has. And does Stephen know all this? I don't know. That's why I wanted to talk to you. I thought you could decide whether to tell him or not. I sat in silence, looking at my reflection in the cafe window. Should I tell Stephen his wife had manipulated him from the start, that it had all been a plan? On one hand, he had suffered enough. This would destroy him. On the other hand, he deserved to know the truth. Do you have proof? I asked. I have messages, emails. Valerie used to write to me, telling me everything. I never deleted them. Can you send them to me? Yes, give me your email. I gave her my email address. Thank you for telling me this, Patricia. I'm sorry. I'm sorry I didn't do it sooner. Maybe I could have prevented all this. Or maybe not. Sometimes people need to make their own mistakes to learn. Patricia nodded and left. That night, I opened my email.
There were the messages Patricia had sent. I read all of them. Each one was worse than the last. Stephen is so dumb. He thinks I love him. I only love his inheritance. The old woman still hasn't died, so annoying. When she's gone, we're selling that house and moving to Europe. I told Stephen his mom is manipulating him. Now he's furious with her. Perfect. I don't like old man Robert. He always looks at me with suspicion. Good thing he's old. He won't last long. Tears streamed down my cheeks as I read. They weren't tears for me. They were tears for Stephen. My son had been tricked, manipulated, used, and I had fought against him. Not knowing he was another victim, I printed all the messages. I put them in a folder, and I asked myself, what do I do now? 2 days passed. I couldn't stop thinking about those messages. Finally, I called Stephen. Mom. His voice sounded surprised. Son, I need to see you. It's urgent. What's wrong? Are you okay? I'm fine. But I need to show you something. Can you come tomorrow? Yes, I'll be there in the afternoon. The next day, Stephen arrived on time. He looked better than the last time. Cleaner, calmer. Hi, Mom. Hi, son. Sit down. I placed the folder on the table between us. What is this? He asked. It's the truth about Valerie. The whole truth. Stephen opened the folder. He started to read. I watched his face change, from confusion to shock, from shock to pain, from pain to rage. He read every message, every email, everything. When he finished, he closed the folder and stared into space. It was all a lie, he whispered, from the beginning, all of it. I'm so sorry, son. She used me. She manipulated me. She made me fight you. She made me believe you were the enemy. I know. Stephen covered his face with his hands. How could I be so stupid? How did I not see it? Because you trusted, because you loved. You're not stupid for having loved Stephen. But I hurt the person who truly loved me. You and Dad. He stood up, walked to the window. Dad knew. Didn't he? That's why he transferred everything to your name, because he saw what I couldn't see. Your father loved you, Stephen, and he loved me. He just wanted to protect us both. Stephen turned around. Tears were streaming down his face. I don't deserve your forgiveness. I don't deserve anything. I went to him, and for the first time in over a year, I hugged my son. "Everyone deserves a second chance," I whispered, "but you have to earn it." Stephen hugged me tightly, like when he was a child, like when he had nightmares and ran into my arms. "I'm going to do better, Mom. I promise. I'm going to be the son that you and Dad deserved." "I hope so, son. I hope so." That night, after Stephen left, I sat in the backyard. The orange tree was full of white blossoms. Soon, there would be new fruit. "You saw it, didn't you, Robert?" I whispered, looking at the stars. "You saw who Valerie was from the beginning, and you protected us both." The wind moved the branches gently, and I felt Robert answer me. "The truth always comes to light, and justice always arrives, maybe late, but it arrives." I smiled, because for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. A year passed after the day Stephen read Valerie's messages, a year of rebuilding, slow, painful, but real. Stephen started coming over on Sundays. At first, it was awkward. The conversations were short, forced, but little by little, we started to really talk, not just about what happened, but about what could have been, and what still could be. "Mom, I got a new job," he told me one Sunday as we had coffee in the backyard. "Oh, where? At an accounting firm. It's nothing fancy, but it's honest, and it's enough to live on. I'm happy for you, son. I sold the BMW, the one I bought with Dad's money. Well, the money I stole from Dad." And it was still hard for him to say those words, but he said them, because he had learned that acknowledging your mistakes is the first step to fixing them. "And what did you do with the money?" "I saved it. I want to give it back to you. It's not the full $50,000, because the car depreciated, but it's something. $32,000. "Stephen, you don't have to." "Yes, Mom, I have to. It's the right thing to do. Dad left everything to you for a reason, and I stole from you, and from him. I need to do this." I didn't argue anymore, because I knew Stephen needed this, not for me, but for himself. One afternoon, while I was watering the orange tree, the phone rang. It was Patricia, Valerie's ex-friend. "Mrs. Miller, do you have a moment?" "Yes, of course. What's wrong?" I need to tell you something. It's about Valerie." "What happened?" "The businessman she left with. He dumped her. He found out she was only with him for his money. Apparently, Valerie tried to transfer properties into her name without him noticing. He caught her and kicked her out." "And where is she now?" "Back in New York City, living in a small apartment alone. No money, no one." There was a pause. I also heard she tried to contact Stephen." My heart stopped. "What?" "She wrote to him, sent him messages, saying she missed him, that she made a mistake, that she wanted to come back." "And what did Stephen say?" "I don't know. I just know she tried. I thought you should know." "Thank you, Patricia. I appreciate you keeping me informed." I hung up the phone with shaking hands. Valerie had contacted Stephen, and he hadn't told me anything the following Sunday. When Stephen came, I confronted him. "Son, has Valerie been trying to contact you?" Stephen looked up from his coffee. He turned pale. How did you know?" "Someone told me. Why didn't you tell me?" Stephen sighed. "Because I was embarrassed. Because I didn't want you to think I was stupid enough to even consider it. And did you—" For a second, just 1 second. When I read her first message, my heart jumped, like a reflex, like muscle memory, from when I thought she loved me. And then, I remembered everything she did to me, everything she did to us, and I deleted her messages. I blocked her from everywhere. I went to him. I put my hand on his. "I'm proud of you, son." "Why? For almost falling into the same trap again?" "No, for not falling, for being stronger than your weakness." Stephen smiled, a sad but real smile. Dad would be proud of me too, wouldn't he? Your father was always proud of you, even when you messed up, because he knew you were capable of being better. That afternoon, Stephen stayed longer. We had dinner together, pasta, the kind I used to make him when he was a kid. Mom, can I ask you something? Of course. Are you ever going to forgive me completely? I fell silent, thinking of the right answer. Stephen, forgiveness isn't something that happens overnight. It's a process. Every day. I forgive a little more. Every time you come over. Every time we talk. Every time I see you trying to be better. And are we there yet, at complete forgiveness? Almost. We're almost there. Stephen nodded, and I saw tears in his eyes. Okay, I can wait. I've waited a year. I can wait longer. 2 months later, I got a call from a woman I didn't know. Mrs. Andrea Miller. Yes. My name is Grace Turner. I'm a social worker at General Hospital. I have a patient here who says she knows you. Her name is Valerie. Miller. My heart sped up. She's not Miller anymore. She's divorced from my son. I understand, but you are listed as her emergency contact, at least in her old records. What happened to her? She's in the hospital. Severe pneumonia. She has no health insurance. She has no money, and she has no one to answer for her. And why are you calling me? Because your name is the only one in our system, and by law, we have to contact someone. Miss Turner, I am not responsible for that woman. She destroyed my family. I have no obligation to her. I understand, ma'am. I was just doing my duty to inform you. Have a good day. She hung up. I stood in the kitchen, staring at the phone. Valerie was in the hospital, alone, no money, no one. Karmic justice had arrived. I should feel satisfied. I should feel she was finally paying for everything she did. But I didn't feel any of that. I just felt pity. That night, when Stephen called to confirm his Sunday visit, I told him about Valerie. She's in the hospital, I said. Alone, no resources. There was a long silence on the other end. What are you going to do? He finally asked. Nothing. It's not my responsibility. You're right, it's not. But something in his voice made me ask. Do you want to do something? I don't know, Mom. Part of me wants her to suffer, to feel what I felt when she left me. But another part just feels sorry for her. That makes you a better person than she ever was, son. What would you do? I thought about Robert, about everything he taught me, about how he faced the world with kindness, even when the world didn't deserve it. I don't know, but I know what your father would do. What? He would do the right thing, not for her, but for himself. Because your father believed you should be good, not because others deserve it, but because that's who you want to be. Stephen sighed. Do you think I should go see her? I can't tell you what to do, son, but I can tell you that whatever you decide, I will respect it. The next day, Stephen went to the hospital. He called me that night. I went to see her. And she's in bad shape, thin, weak. She didn't even look like herself. She saw me walk in and just started to cry. She asked me to forgive her. She said she had ruined her life, that she deserved everything bad that was happening to her. What did you say? Nothing. I just listened, and then I told her I would pay for her treatment, not because I forgive her, but because I needed to close that chapter of my life, and I didn't want to close it with hate. Tears streamed down my cheeks. Your father would be so proud of you, Stephen. I hope so, Mom. I really hope so. That night, I went out to the backyard. The orange tree was full of ripe golden fruit, shining under the moonlight. Our son is becoming a good man, I whispered. looking at the stars. Not perfect, but good, like you. The wind blew gently, and I felt Robert smile. 2 years had passed since Robert's death. 2 years that seemed like a lifetime. The orange tree in the backyard had produced 3 harvests. The house was still mine. And I had learned to live with the pain, which had turned into wisdom. Stephen came every Sunday, without fail. It wasn't awkward anymore. There was no more tension in the air. We had built something new. It wasn't what we had before. That was lost forever. But it was something real, something honest. "Mom, I brought oranges," he said one Sunday, walking in with a bag from the market. I looked at him with a smile. "Son, we have a tree full of oranges in the backyard." "I know, but I saw these at the market, and I remembered when Dad and I used to go together on Saturdays. He always bought oranges, even if we had them at home. He said supporting the local vendors was important." A lump formed in my throat. "Your father was like that, always thinking of others." Stephen put the oranges on the table and sat down. "Mom, there's something I want to tell you." "What is it?" I met someone." My heart leaped, half joy, half fear. "A woman. Yeah, her name is Caroline. She's an elementary school teacher. I met her at the park. I was running, and she was with her dog. The dog ran up to me, and we just started talking." "And what is she like?" Stephen smiled, a genuine smile I hadn't seen in years. "She's different. She doesn't care that I don't have a luxury car. She doesn't care that I live in a small apartment. She likes to talk about books and plants and simple things." Have you told her about everything that happened?" "Yes, I told her everything. About Valerie, about the lawsuit, about how I hurt my own mother for money. I thought she would run away." "And what did she do?" "She listened, and then she told me. Everyone makes mistakes. What's important is who you decide to be after the mistake." I felt my heart fill with hope. I'd like to meet her." "That's why I'm telling you. I wanted to ask your permission to bring her next Sunday, if that's okay." "That's perfect, son." The next Sunday, Stephen arrived with Caroline. She was a simple woman. Brown hair in a ponytail, no makeup, a simple floral dress, warm eyes, and a sincere smile. "Mrs. Miller, it's an honor to meet you," she said, shaking my hand. "Stephen has told me so much about you." "I hope good things," I answered, smiling. "Only good things. He told me you're the strongest woman he knows." The 3 of us sat in the backyard. I made coffee and brought out some pastries. Caroline looked at the orange tree with admiration. "What a beautiful tree. How old is it?" 28 years. My husband and I planted it when we bought the house." "It's impressive. Trees are the silent witnesses of our lives, aren't they?" I liked her immediately. We spent the afternoon talking. About everything, about nothing. Caroline told me about her job, about the kids she taught, about her love for reading. "My dream is to one day have a small library for the neighborhood kids," she said. "Many of them don't have access to books at home." "That's a beautiful dream," I told her. When they left, Stephen hung back to say goodbye. "So, what did you think?" he asked nervously. "I think she's wonderful, and I think she's good for you." "She's so good for me, Mom. For the first time in years, I feel like I can just be myself with someone." "Take care of her, son, and take care of yourself." "I will. I promise." The weeks kept passing. Stephen brought Caroline every Sunday. Little by little, she became part of our small, rebuilt family. One day, while Caroline and I were making lunch in the kitchen, she said, "Mrs. Miller, Andrea, can I ask you something personal?" "Of course, dear." How did you do it? How did you forgive Stephen? He told me everything that happened, and I just don't know if I could forgive something like that." I stopped chopping tomatoes and thought for a moment. "Forgiveness isn't a moment, Caroline. It's a path. Every day, you decide to forgive a little more.
At first, I couldn't even look at him without feeling pain. But then, I started to see his remorse, his efforts to change, and little by little, the pain started to turn into something else. Into what? Into understanding. Into compassion. Stephen was a victim too, of Valerie, of his own ambition, of his immaturity. I don't justify what he did, but I understand why he did it. Caroline nodded. He talks about his dad a lot, about how he wishes he was here, to see that he's changing. His dad sees him, I'm sure of it. One afternoon, 3 months later, my phone rang. It was the hospital. Mrs. Andrea Miller. Yes. I'm calling to inform you that Valerie Mendez passed away this morning. I fell silent. I didn't know what to feel. What did she die of? Her pneumonia progressed. Despite the treatment, her body was very weak. She couldn't fight it. Was anyone with her? Well, your son Stephen was here every night this week. He was with her when she died. Stephen was there. Yes, he was very generous. He paid for the entire treatment, and he stayed with her in her final days. She died peacefully. After I hung up, I sat in the living room for a long time. Valerie was dead. The woman who almost destroyed my family. The woman who manipulated my son. The woman who tried to steal my house. I should feel relief, or justice, or something, but I just felt sad. Sad for a life wasted, chasing things that never brought happiness. When Stephen arrived that afternoon, his eyes were red. "You already know," he said, seeing my face. "Yes, the hospital called." Stephen sat on the sofa and covered his face with his hands. "She was conscious until the end. She asked me to tell you something." "What?" "That she was sorry, that she ruined her life, and almost ruined ours. That you were right about everything. That Robert was a good man. And she didn't know how to value what she had." Tears started to roll down my cheeks. She also told me something else," Stephen continued. "She said, 'Don't make my mistake. Don't waste your life chasing things. Chase people. Love is the only real thing, the only thing that matters in the end.'" "And what did you tell her?" "I told her I had already learned that lesson the hard way, but I had learned it." Stephen looked up. "Mom, I paid for her funeral. Something simple, basic. Do you think I did the wrong thing?" I went to him and hugged him. "You did the right thing, son. Not for her, but for you, for the person you want to be." Caroline said the same thing. She said she was proud of me. "I'm proud of you too." Valerie's funeral was 2 days later, just Stephen, Caroline, Patricia, and me. There were no tears, no grand speeches, just a respectful silence for a life that was lost to ambition. When we left the cemetery, Stephen took my arm. "Mom, can I ask you something?" "Of course, son." Can we go visit Dad?" "Of course." The 3 of us went to the cemetery where Robert was. We brought flowers, oranges from the tree in the backyard. Stephen knelt in front of his father's grave. "Dad, I know you can hear me. I know it's been 2 years, and I'm too late for many things. But I want you to know, I get it now. I understand why you did what you did, why you protected Mom, why you left me out of the will." His voice broke. "I needed it, Dad. I needed to hit rock bottom to understand. I needed to lose everything to know what was truly important. And now I know. It's Mom. It's Caroline. It's being a good man, like you." Caroline put her hand on Stephen's shoulder. I knelt next to my son and put my hand on Robert's headstone. "We did it, my love," I whispered. "Our son came back to us. He's not the same one we lost. He's better. He's stronger. He's wiser." The wind blew gently. The leaves of the nearby trees rustled. And I felt Robert's presence there with us. That night, back at home,
Stephen, Caroline, and I had dinner together. "Mom," Stephen said as we ate, "Caroline and I have been talking." "About what?" "About getting married. But we want to do it the right way. We want your blessing." I looked at Caroline. She smiled at me tenderly. "Are you asking my permission to get married, son?" "Yes, I know I don't deserve it, after everything that happened, but—" I cut him off. "You have my blessing, both of you, and I know your father would be happy too." Stephen stood up and hugged me. He cried on my shoulder, like when he was a child. "Thank you, Mom. Thank you for not giving up on me." "I will never give up on you, son. You are my blood, my life, my heart." Caroline joined the hug, and there, in the kitchen of the House of the Orange Trees, I felt the circle close. It wasn't a storybook happy ending. We had scars. We had painful memories. We had wounds that would never fully heal, but we had something more important. We had truth. We had forgiveness. We had love, and we had a future. That night, after Stephen and Caroline left, I went out to the backyard. The orange tree was full of white blossoms. Soon, another harvest would come. "You saw it all, didn't you, Robert?" I whispered, looking at the stars. "You saw who Valerie was from the beginning, and you protected us both." The wind moved the branches gently, and I felt Robert answer me. The truth always comes out, and justice always arrives. Maybe late, but it arrives. I smiled, because for the first time in a long time, I felt hope. 5 years had passed since Robert's death, 5 years that transformed everything. It was a Saturday morning. The sun streamed through the kitchen windows as I made coffee. But it wasn't just my coffee anymore. It was coffee for the whole family. Stephen and Caroline had been married for 3 years, a simple wedding. In the backyard of this house, under the orange tree, with white flowers and soft music, I cried the whole day, but they were tears of joy. "Dad is here with us," Stephen had said during his speech. "In this tree, in this house, in the love that Mom taught us to reclaim." Now, they had a little girl. Her name was Roberta, after her grandfather. She was 2 years old, and she was the light of my life. "Grandma, Grandma." I heard her little voice from the backyard. I looked out the window. Stephen was holding her in his arms, showing her the oranges on the tree. "See, my love, your Grandpa Robert planted this tree, and now you get to eat his oranges." "Grandpa in heaven?" Roberta asked in her sweet voice. "Yes, Princess, Grandpa is in heaven, but he's also here, in the tree, in the house, in us." I went out to the backyard with a tray of coffee and juice for Roberta. "Good morning, family." "Good morning, Mom," Stephen said, kissing my cheek. "Sleep well." "Like a baby." Caroline arrived a little later with bags from the market. "I bought everything for lunch. I'm cooking today, Andrea. You rest." "You don't have to call me Andrea. You can call me Mom." "Okay, Mom. But today, you sit, and I cook. It's Saturday, and you deserve a break." I sat on the bench under the orange tree with Roberta in my lap. She played with my hands, exploring my wrinkles with childish curiosity. "Grandma, why do you have lines here?" she asked, touching my face. "They're maps, my love. Maps of all the stories I've lived." "What stories?" "Stories of love, of pain, of loss, and of finding my way back. Someday, when you're older, I'll tell you all of them." Stephen sat next to me. "What are you thinking about, Mom?" "About everything. About how far we've walked to get here." "We've walked a long way, haven't we?" "A very long way, son." We sat in silence for a moment, watching Roberta run through the yard. "Mom, there's something I want to tell you," Stephen finally said. "What is it?" "Caroline is pregnant, 3 months. It's a boy." My heart filled with joy. "Stephen, that's wonderful news. And we want to name him Robert, if that's okay with you." Tears started to roll down my cheeks. It's perfect." And I know your father would be. He would be so happy. It's our way of honoring him, of keeping his name, his legacy, alive. His legacy is already alive, son, in you, in the good man you've become, in how you love your family, in how you work honestly, in how you teach Roberta about respect and love. Stephen put his hand on mine. I learned all of that from you two, from Dad, and from you. Especially you, Mom. You taught me that forgiveness is possible, that second chances exist, that it's never too late to change. It wasn't easy, son. I know. That's why I value it more. You could have closed the door on me forever. You had every right. But you didn't. And because you're my son, and a mother's love doesn't have conditions, it can be hurt, it can be broken, but it never dies. Roberta ran up to us with a yellow flower in her hand. For you, Grandma. Thank you, my heaven, it's beautiful, just like you. The afternoon passed peacefully. Caroline made pot roast, Robert's favorite. The aroma filled the house, and for a moment, it was as if he was there with us. We ate in the backyard, under the orange tree, as a family. Mom, do you remember when we were fighting over this house? Stephen asked suddenly. Of course I remember. I used to think this house was just walls and monetary value. I didn't understand it was so much more than that. And what is it to you now? Stephen looked around. At the walls he grew up in, the yard he played in as a child, the orange tree his father planted. Now, Mo, it's history. It's memory. It's love made concrete. It's the place where Dad and you built a life, where I grew up, where I got married, where my daughter is growing up. This house is priceless, because it's not a house, it's our home. Exactly, son. That's exactly what your father wanted you to understand. After lunch, while Caroline put Roberta down for her nap, Stephen and I stayed in the backyard. Mom, can I ask you something I've always wanted to know? Of course. When you won the lawsuit, when the judge ruled in your favor, did you feel triumph? Did you feel like you had won? I thought about that question, about that day in the courthouse, 5 years ago. No, I didn't feel triumph. I felt pain, because I had won a house, but I felt I had lost my son. And now, what do you feel now? Now, I feel peace, because I understand that everything had to happen the way it did. You needed to lose everything to value what was important. I needed to defend myself so I wouldn't lose myself. Your father needed to protect me, even after his death. Everything had a purpose. Do you think Dad knew we would end up here reconciled? Your father always had faith in you, even when you were wrong. That's why he left you that invisible inheritance, the inheritance of pain, of learning, of redemption. Stephen nodded slowly. The best inheritance he could have left me. That evening, after Stephen, Caroline, and Roberta left, I was alone in the house. I walked through every room, touched the walls, looked at the photographs hanging on them. Robert and I at our wedding, young, full of dreams. Stephen as a baby, in his father's arms, both smiling. Stephen and Caroline at their wedding, under the orange tree. Roberta on her first birthday, cake all over her face. This house was a museum of love, of life, of history. I sat in the armchair where Robert used to read the newspaper. I closed my eyes, and for a moment, I could feel his presence. We did it, my love, I whispered. I saved the house. I got our son back, and now we have grandchildren, 2 grandchildren, Robert and Roberta. Your name will live on in them. I opened my eyes and looked out at the backyard. The orange tree swayed gently in the evening breeze. I went outside and stood in front of it. I ran my hand over its rough trunk. 28 years, I said aloud. 28 years since we planted you. You have seen so much. You have given so much fruit. You have witnessed so much joy and so much pain. The tree whispered in the wind, "Thank you for being here, for being the symbol of our family, for continuing to give life." I picked an orange. I cut it in half. The aroma filled the air, sweet, fresh, alive. I took a bite. The juice ran down my chin. I closed my eyes, savoring it. And I remembered. I remembered Robert squeezing oranges every Sunday. I remembered Stephen climbing the tree as a child. I remembered the day I planted this tree with Robert, my hands full of dirt and my heart full of hope. The roots, Robert had said that day. The roots are the most important thing. If the roots are strong, the tree will survive any storm. And he was right. Our roots had been strong. This family had survived the most terrible storm, betrayal, pain, loss. But the roots held us firm. That night, before bed, I wrote in my journal, something I had started doing after Robert died. October 5th, 2030. Today was a perfect day. Stephen told me they're having another baby, a boy, to be named Robert. My heart is full. Sometimes I think about everything we went through, the trial, the pain, the separation. And I wonder if it was worth fighting so hard. And I always come to the same answer. Yes, because I wasn't just fighting for a house. I was fighting for my dignity, for the respect of Robert's work, to teach my son that some things can't be bought or sold, that some things are worth more than money. Valerie chased wealth and died alone. Stephen chased an inheritance and lost everything. But when they finally sought the right thing, they found it. Valerie found peace in her final days, thanks to Stephen's kindness, and Stephen found love, family, and purpose. Life always collects its debts, but it also rewards those who learn. Robert, my love, wherever you are, I want you to know your plan worked. You protected our house. You protected our son. You protected our love. And now, 5 years later, I can say with certainty, we won. We didn't win money. We didn't win possessions. We won something far more valuable. We won family. We won truth. We won redemption. I love you. I will always love you. Andrea. I closed the journal and turned off the light. That night, I dreamed of Robert. We were young again, in the backyard of this house, planting the orange tree together. "Do you think it will grow?" I asked in the dream. "It will grow," he answered, with that smile that always melted me. "And when we are long gone, it will still be here, giving fruit, giving shade, witnessing that we existed, that we loved each other, that we built something that lasts." "And what if someone tries to cut it down?" I asked. "They won't be able to," Robert said, "because its roots will be deep, so deep that nothing and no one can tear it out." I woke up with the sun streaming through the window. It was Sunday, the day Stephen came with his family. I got up, got dressed, made coffee, and went out to the backyard to greet the day. The orange tree was full of life. Its leaves shined with the morning dew. Its golden fruits hung heavy and ripe. "Good morning, old friend," I said to the tree. "Thank you for still being here, for still giving, for still witnessing our story." And in that moment, as the sun lit up the yard, I understood something profound. The real inheritance isn't houses, it isn't land, it isn't bank accounts. The real inheritance is the values, the lessons, and the love we pass down. Robert left me this house, yes, but more importantly, he left me his example, his wisdom, his way of loving, with clear boundaries, but without conditions. And I left that same thing to Stephen. I taught him that forgiveness exists, but it must be earned. That a mother's love is unconditional, but that doesn't mean accepting abuse. That second chances are possible, but they require work and real transformation. Stephen will teach the same to Roberta and to little Robert, who is on his way, and they will teach it to their children. And so, generation after generation, Robert's and my love will live on, not in walls and roofs, but in hearts and actions. I heard Stephen's car park out front. "Grandma, Grandma!" Roberta shouted, running toward me. I lifted her into my arms. She smelled like soap and innocence. "Good morning, my heaven! How did my princess wake up? Good Daddy says we're going to make orange juice." "That's right. Just like your Grandpa Robert used to do." Stephen approached with Caroline. She already had a small 3-month bump. "Good morning, Mom," Stephen said, hugging me. "Good morning, son. You know, Caroline and I were talking about what? That when Roberta and Robert get older, we want to tell them the whole story, the real one, without omitting anything." "Are you sure it's a hard story?" "That's exactly why. I want them to know their father wasn't always the man he is today, that I made terrible mistakes, that I hurt the person who loved me most, but I also want them to know that real remorse can change a person, that it's never too late to choose to be better. Your father would be so proud of you, Stephen." "I hope so. I hope that from wherever he is, he can see that I finally understood what he tried to teach me." We spent the day as a family. We squeezed oranges, we made juice, we ate in the backyard. Roberta chased butterflies. Caroline and I talked about the new baby. "He's due in March," she told me. "In the spring, like a new beginning." "It's perfect," I said. "Spring is a time for rebirth, for blossoming. Like this family," she said, smiling, "reborn after the hardest winter." At sunset, when they left, I was alone again. But I didn't feel alone anymore. I had Robert's presence in every corner of this house. I had Stephen's love, renewed and true. I had Caroline, the daughter I never had. I had Roberta, and little Robert on the way. And I had this house, the house of the orange trees, the house Robert protected, the house I defended, the house Stephen finally understood. I sat under the orange tree one last time that night. The stars were beginning to appear in the twilight sky. "Robert, my love," I whispered, looking up, "if my story helps just one woman open her eyes, it will have been worth it. If my story teaches just one mother that defending herself isn't selfishness but dignity, it will have been worth it. If my story shows just one son that it's never too late to change, to ask for forgiveness, to be better, it will have been worth it. All the pain, all the suffering, all the fear, it will all have been worth it." The wind blew gently. The leaves of the orange tree rustled. And in that whisper, I heard Robert's voice. "It was worth it, my love. Every tear, every battle, every moment of doubt, it was all worth it. Because in the end, love won, truth won, family won." I smiled. And in that smile, there was peace. The peace of someone who fought and won, not with hate, not with revenge, but with dignity, with love, and with the certainty that some roots are so deep that no storm can ever tear them out. This was my story, the story of a woman who lost her husband, but not her strength, who was betrayed by her son, but did not lose her capacity to forgive, who fought for a house, but won so much more. She won respect. She won truth. She won family. And if you are listening to this, I want you to know something important. You can too. You can defend yourself without losing your kindness. You can forgive without allowing abuse. You can love without losing yourself. You can fall and get back up stronger, because the roots of true love are deep, and no storm, no matter how terrible, can ever tear them out. Thank you for listening to the end. If this story touched your heart, subscribe and hit the bell to hear more stories on Elderly Stories, where we transform pain into wisdom. Share this story with someone you love. Sometimes, a story like this can change their entire day. God bless you, and until next time.